Red and her family die by earth, wind, and fire. This is spoilers. This is spoilers. What is up? Welcome to Spoilers. Today we are spoiling Jordan Peele's second venture out into writing and directing and producing, Us. Mikey and Pappy, what is up?
Sup, bro?
Sup?
Did you guys, what were your guys' expectations going into this movie? Because Get Out was a colossal success, and now, I mean, you always hear about the dreaded sophomore slump. What'd you guys think?
The trailer, I'm going to say this, we don't often give trailers credit, but it didn't give away, like, anything. Like, it was a pretty good trailer, and it looked like it was going to be, like, a really well-shot movie, and I think it kind of lived up to that.
Yeah, I think the expectations were really high from just, like, film critics and everybody who had seen Get Out a couple years ago, but I think he lived up to it, and I don't know, I think the trailer might have shown a little bit for me, but that's just because we were talking about Pet Sematary earlier, and I was pretty pissed at that trailer, so I think I'm going to start avoiding trailers from now on a lot more, so.
The thing is, like, if you have a reserved seat, I'm just going to show up, like, 20 minutes after the start time of the movie, and it's going to be, like, perfect. There were so many trailers in front of mine, and then you were right, that Pet Sematary one was atrocious. It gave away everything.
I'll say this. Like, if there's an app, someone tell me, but, like, I noticed this in the horror genre more than any other thing. People will not shut the fuck up in the theater during horror movies.
Was your theater packed? Mine was absolutely full. Sold out show.
Well, my show was sold out, and then every show after that, up until 10 p.m. was sold out. And I saw mine at 4.
Mine was pretty bare bones, but I went in the middle of the day. So,
where'd you go?
Linway, with my sister.
Nice. Well, let's get into Us. Kind of want to start with the curveball question. I wouldn't say curveball, but what do you guys know about Hands Across America? Or did you guys ever hear about Hands Across America growing up?
I knew nothing about it. I was going to Google it after the movie, and I didn't. Were they able to do it? Was there actually a
colossal failure?
I've heard of it, but only in like an episode of The Goldbergs, where it's kind of like a joke in the show. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if it was like a real thing, but to find out that it is real is kind of weird, and I'm not surprised that it failed.
So what happened? They weren't able to do it?
Oh, no. I mean, it was a colossal failure. The whole idea was it takes 6.5 million people standing side by side holding hands to form a chain all the way across the United States.
It doesn't even seem physically possible. Like, you have to go through all kinds of...
Well, that's what they didn't account for.
In the desert.
Yeah, they didn't account for desert, mountains, rivers, any of that. And so it was like $10, and it was supposed to last for 15 minutes. And it was, I think, $10 at 6.5. Yeah, I was supposed to raise a ton of money for homelessness and to fight hunger as well. And they only raised like $15 million. I won't say only, but 15 out of 75 or 65 isn't a great number to hit.
Well, I love how Jordan Peele, like, it feels like he draws a lot from like personal experiences, you know, like Get Out, having his spouse is white and telling that story, and now like you can tell he's a child of the 80s too, because that whole beginning felt like, you know, kind of like his childhood stuff, like the commercials and the reflection and everything. That was awesome.
Yeah, I really liked how it started off with the commercial of Hands Across America, and that was actually the exact commercial Jordan Peele saw that kind of inspired him to go with the Hands Across America route. He saw like a throwback like MTV Hands Across America commercial and used that one.
Well, speaking of 80s stuff too, not to jump ahead too far, but I loved how the house, or the House of Mirrors, where it happens, like in the 80s it was called like the Shaman's House, and then they renamed it because it was so unpolitically correct, like the Wizard's House or something later. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, and I don't know if did you guys notice the VHS tapes on the side of the TV for that commercial?
What were they?
It was The Man with Two Brains, Steve Martin movie. It was Chud, which is about kind of like underground like monsters that come up from the sewers.
Ooh,
and
nice.
then it was Goonies.
That's awesome.
Which is like all about sewer stuff as well. And Mikey, what was that beginning kind of like writing we saw in the movie?
Yeah, there's a little script at the beginning of the movie that just talks about all these underground tunnels that are like abandoned underneath the U.S. It's kind of ominous, but we get a little bit into the movie and we find out that there's like government experiments going on where they're cloning people, and I don't really understand the purpose of the clones. Did you guys catch that?
I do.
They said it was like a government experiment, right, Stevie? Or something?
Yeah, I mean, might as well go ahead and jump into questions. I mean, anyone who's listening has already seen the movie because we're called spoilers. The way I took it was, it's much like Red says at the end to Adelaide, which is, it was a government experiment that kind of went haywire. Whereas, like, they figured they can copy 2 bodies, but they can't replicate 2 souls. So the souls within those people was tethered to one person and another. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And I raised my rating a little bit. I talked to you after, Stevie. I was like, it explained too much. Maybe in retrospect, it's not as bad as I initially thought. But you were a fan of that explanation, right? At the time, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Big time fan. Yeah. What do you like about it?
Big time fan. I'm just like kind of like the exposition dump in itself.
Yeah, like there's that shot. I think it's from Persona, Ingmar Bergman movie. Where, Bergman, Ruby not talking like this, and like you have her like semi-transparent, and yeah, she kind of like lays out basically everything that where these people are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because it made sense.
I'm just wondering, like, well, if you're going to replace everybody in the U.S. with this clone, then why don't you just kill everybody in the U.S.? Wouldn't that be easier?
That's not what it was. It was much more politically driven than that. It was to see if they could control a society from underground.
Oh, so like the people underground would be controlling the people
up
tethered
top,
to the people top?
So they would be puppets.
Interesting.
So it was much more sinister than just like, hey, we're going to see if we can replace people. It was more like, we're going to see if we can like control large movements of people at a time.
It's like some Patriot Act shit.
Oh, because they're, quote, tethered. So
because
they're like
influencing. Quote, tethered.
They're like influencing each other.
Right. And that's why that beginning is like really important. Like she's on the boardwalk. And I really, really liked how Jordan Peele shot everything from a child's view on the boardwalk.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking up at everything, it just made everything look so much bigger. And I guess that kind of like took me back to when I was a kid at the fair with my parents, but my dad wasn't like angrily drunk and embarrassing.
Like he was going off on that fucking whack-a-mole. he was whacking all the moles.
He was so excited, but yeah, I mean, I guess the beginning of this movie is pretty much shown in the trailers, which is Adelaide, wanders off into the shaman's house, like Pap said, with a giant sign that says "Find Yourself," and she really does end up finding herself, and that's when we kind of continue on the story of like after that. What did you guys think happened? Because I just thought. Because they're at the therapist and they're talking about PTSD and she's not talking. What did you guys think had happened?
Well, I think I'm getting a little too good at watching movies because I kind of figured that they had switched as soon as...
You're a better man than me, Mikey. Better man than me.
Well, Lupita Nyong'o, during like really intense like sequences of like either like fighting someone or just freaking out, she would make like these animal noises, and all of the other characters were making weird animal noises.
Those grunts?
Yeah, like grunting and hissing and stuff like that. And she would do that when she was fighting people. I was like, kind of put 2 and 2 together because none of the other people were using words either. They were just grunting and hissing and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was a good reveal though.
Yeah, and Red's the only one who can talk too. So it's kind of like a sign that she's different than the others. But so my question, Stevie, does the family Lupita Nyong'o does she know like that she was switched? Like, does she remember being in that thing or not?
It's really, you're talking about, does she remember being underground?
Right, because like she established
what
her
is she,
life
3
as a
or 4
mom.
years old at this point?
I'd say
When
more
she's young?
6, 7. I don't know.
6, 7. Okay. In my mind, I think it was. See, it's real. That's what I also kind of love about this movie. It's really kind of hard to, I guess, know everything. It's really good at disguising things, but I don't know. I'm trying to think. I really don't know.
She did
because it could be repressed memory, and she could have known.
I think she was like super panicked going to the beach, and I think she knew that that's where they met the first time, and I think they both like kind of agreed that there was something drawing them together, and that was the place where they met. So I think she was kind of nervous going back to the beach that whole time. So I think she remembers everything. I think she was a little more. She was smarter than she was letting on throughout the whole movie, I think.
Yeah, that's very possible. Yeah, so I was trying to think in the movie what had happened, because it just cut. I just thought she got lost and got scared and wasn't herself. I didn't realize they switched at that point. And then we fast forward to grown-up Lupita, who's playing Adelaide, as well as we find out to come Red. What's that family dynamic like, Pap?
I love it. And we were talking before this, too. I think that I'm ready to crown Jordan Peele GOAT of horror comedy. And this family is so hilarious. They're pretty well off, which I don't know if that plays in thematically at all. They drive a Mercedes, and they have a beach house, and the dad buys a boat, and no one wants your boat, Dad. It's so funny. Like, the dad is like he's corny and cheesy, and
he's everyone's dad growing up.
He's a dad. Yeah, it's awesome.
He's a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Jason, who has kind of a weird tick, Mikey. What's he do throughout the entire movie?
Jason, I guess he has kind of a couple, right? He has the magic trick thing that's not popping off, that he's trying to work on throughout the whole movie. And he also hides places and kind of gets himself stuck in a couple
Exactly. And
places.
I also thought it was kind of funny. His name's Jason, and he wears a mask like in every scene of this movie.
Oh yeah, and that too. Yeah, he's a little weirdo, but he's pretty good. I don't know if he's ever been in anything else, but if this was his first movie, he did a great job. And I don't know if he's playing the Gimp kid too, because he's also pretty athletic. He's kind of climbing all over stuff and like running
he's
around
playing
his
Pluto
house.
too.
Yeah, he's a pretty good actor if this is his first role. So
yeah, and then we have daughter Zora, who's your typical teenage daughter, you know, listening to music, talking to guys, not wanting to listen to her parents. And this movie kind of starts off with them going to the beach, and during the boardwalk scene, there's a guy holding a sign that says Jeremiah 11:11. And did any of you guys know what Jeremiah 11:11 was before this movie?
No idea.
no.
Did you guys look it up after?
Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto the storm. So, you know, one of those uplifting Bible passages.
That's what Samuel L. Jackson says at the end of Pulp Fiction.
It reminds me of what Rorschach said in Watchmen. But yeah, when they're on the way to the beach, that guy is dead, being wheeled out on a gurney. I didn't put two and two together until near the end of the movie that guy that Jason saw at the beach holding out his hands was him. Like, he had just killed his tethered person.
Oh.
That was the
makes sense.
Jeremiah 11:11 guy. He was the first one to start the Hands Across America.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
And so Lupita is, or just call her Adelaide, is really apprehensive about being at the beach. Who is it? Elizabeth Moss? Yeah, Elizabeth Moss is kind of her husband's best friend's wife, who's just drunk and trying to be really chatty, and Lupita's not having any of it.
I guess she'll have thirds.
I love Tim Heidecker so much. Did you guys ever watch Tim and Eric in college?
Yeah, I love Tim and Eric.
Yeah, I've seen a couple episodes.
Love Tim and Eric. And I hope Tim Heidecker keeps on getting bigger and better roles because he is just so funny. But he plays like, let me see, Gabe's best friend who's a lot more well off. Like, he has like a really nice beach house. He pretty much has a yacht. You know what I mean?
The name of the yacht is Biat.
Biat.
So funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of the beach, Stevie, I have a question. So there's like a bunch of like coincidences happen. Like a frisbee lands perfectly on the circle of their beach blanket. Is that just kind of like a misdirect of the film? Because there's not really anything spiritual or supernatural.
I didn't realize what was going on with that. I thought I had missed something. I was going to ask you guys.
I mean, it just kind of sets the creepy mood, I guess, right?
Is it the fact that it landed so perfectly on the circle?
Mm-hmm. I think, it's just supposed to be like just like a hint at there's like a copy of you somewhere or something. She's like seeing more and more weird coincidences.
Because it was blue and then it was red.
Yeah,
the frisbee was red on top of the blue.
More and more weird coincidences like that throughout the movie. So,
and it was a red and gold frisbee too, which actually is kind of a foreshadow of things to come.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, and so Jason wanders off on the beach. Adelaide's not having any of it. We got to go home. And she's just really feeling she's not having any of it. Pappy brought this up earlier. What has Gabe tried to do when she's having like a freak out in the bedroom?
Oh, that's one of the funniest scenes of the whole movie. He's like trying to seduce his wife in the way Jordan Peele is just a fucking master of, and the worst. I hate when people say he knows where to put the camera, but he puts the camera like right in his crotch and he like lays in the middle of the bed like spread eagle.
He's ready.
His wife's like freaking out, and he just has like just a bunch of lines like trying to like seduce her or something, and my crowd was cracking up. It's awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, and so I really just think Adelaide wants to get the hell out of there. Like, by morning, she's like, we just got to go. I don't want to be here. And it's their summer home, right?
I think so, yeah.
Must be nice. But then the power goes out, no backup generator, and that's when Jason says, there's a family out there. Mikey, what rolls on down from here?
We meet the Copy family of Lupita Nyong'o and everybody else. And they kind of break in a really scary way and hold the original family hostage. And it's pretty creepy and very well shot. And I think Jordan Peele is like going all out here and trying to create a really scary setup to this movie.
He's a master of suspense, too. The way, like, that family just stood there for a long time while you're just running in your mind what's going to happen.
But the thing is, it's also funny, too. Winston Duke, the guy who plays Gabe, is out there, and he's kind of, like, talking a big game, and then he's
trying to act tough.
Yeah, he's lowering his voice at the end, and it's just really funny at the same time, but also pretty scary. He's realizing that this could be a pretty big problem.
Look, yeah, like the whole time too, he speaks, very formally, and then when he's trying to intimidate, the police are on their way. With the baseball bat, you could just tell it's not the way he normally talks.
You want to get crazy?
Great, yeah, it's so good.
I love that, but them breaking into the house was, to me, terrifying, especially when Gabe gets his knee bashed in by Abraham. That dude looked way bigger than Gabe, by the way. Abraham,
he really did,
huge. Mm-hmm. But they kind of huddle him up all in the family room, and that's when we hear Red's fantastically scary voice. What's the story that she tells, Pap?
Well, yeah, she's telling the story of how, like, basically whatever Adelaide did in the real world, she was kind of forced to do in the underground world. So she had to marry the big guy and have the kids, and then, like, kind of worst of all, I guess, the son was born by cesarean section, which
on her own.
Yeah, there were no doctors, so like you probably seen like all the scissors and stuff. Like she carried scissors and she, I guess, had to cut out the baby all by herself. Oof, yeah.
That was just scary to think about. Well, like on top of that voice too.
Well, when you think about it too, it's like that person was supposed to be in the real world. You know what I mean? So like, no wonder she'd want revenge. Mm-hmm. Like I'd be pissed.
Oh yeah. And that's the way that they kind of made it sound in the beginning, was just, you guys have a shadow. We're coming. We're no longer going to be your shadows. We're coming to kill you. Pretty much, that's the way I took it.
Which one of the other family did you guys think was the scariest? Because for me, it's not even close.
Of the other family?
The daughter. I don't know. Umbre?
She looked pretty scary.
Umbre?
Oh my god. Her face. I don't know who that actress is, but she's able to make this creepy smile face that is like the most terrifying.
That is Shahadi Wright Joseph, who plays Zora and Umbre.
She is so good. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and like that whole, I mean, I think it's like 5 to 10 minutes worth is just, the suspense is just such a great buildup. And it really starts off with, I mean, after she gives that kind of speech that like, we're here, we're going to kill you. And Abraham drags Gabe out towards the boat, knocks him out. And it's kind of like the separation of things where Jason and Pluto go off together. Umbre and Zora go off together, and then it's just Red and Adelaide. So it really does a good job of like separating things. But where does it really just go from here? I mean, after this, pretty much we have Umbre chasing after Zora.
Which, sorry to interrupt, there's so many great like little setup and payoffs in the script. Like at the beginning, that daughter is talking about how she doesn't want to run track anymore, and then she basically just like has to take off sprinting to get away. So it's like,
and Umbre loves track.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's all about it.
That and Pluto does a great job of mirroring Jason. Like he just does it. Like when they mirror each other in the closet.
What were you saying earlier before we started recording about the dog thing?
Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways you can... It works on both ends, because one of them I read and one of them I put 2 and 2 together. The one of them I read was that Pluto, I think, was like the god of the underworld or like the god of fire of the underworld. Trying to think, because Jason's doppelganger was Pluto. Let me see. Pluto represents more positive god. It presides over afterlife. Okay, never mind. Anyway, and then the other one was in the beginning. Jason says that, "Hey, I want a dog," and his dad's like, "You don't need a dog, boy." And Pluto kind of acts like a pet to Jason.
And Pluto, of course, the famous dog from the
famous
Jetsons.
Dog.
Yeah.
Or Mickey's dog.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Or Mickey Mouse's dog.
Astro is the dog from the Jetsons.
Yeah, Astro's
Pluto's
the dog. Pluto's Mickey's, but he kind of acts like a pet, because like Jason's like, "Come here," and he like kind of crawls over to him and he grabs his hand and walks him towards the closet. Then he mirrors him. And the other thing I took off, I don't know if you guys noticed this, that magic trick that Jason said he couldn't get working throughout the entire movie was working down below, and that's why his face was burned.
Oh, that makes sense. I did feel a little bit bad, though. Like, it's probably not the nicest thing to make your burn victims look like monsters in the movie. I don't know. But yeah, what is that trick even supposed to be? Is it just like a lighter? Like, I know it works like once. I think
it's just supposed to... Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to see the ring on his finger, because if you see the ring, you obviously know there's a trick, but I think it's supposed to be like a sleight of hand thing, and it's just like a flame.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't working up top, but it was working down below just fine for Jason. We get Gabe on a boat with Abraham, and was he trying to drown him? What was he doing? Why did Abraham take Gabe out in the boat? Just for thematical movie purposes?
I don't know, honestly, but
yeah,
I think he was just going to drop him out in the lake or something, because he had him all bagged up.
Yeah,
and he expected he was knocked out, but yeah, I don't know why he took the boat out. Maybe just because up top Gabe was so adamant about having the boat, and down below Gabe.
Yeah, that very well could be.
Yeah.
I had like a great feel of like terror throughout that time in the pond where like him and Abraham were both in the water.
Oh, that's so scary.
It was so scary. It was like Jaws, but with a crazy person.
Speaking of Jaws, I shit on Mallrats for this. Like, Universal, I fucking get it. You made Jaws. You don't have to make your little kid actors wear Jaws t-shirts in the movie. It's like, we get it. You made Jaws.
Were there Jaws t-shirts? I didn't realize.
The little kid, Jason, wears a Jaws t-shirt.
Oh, does he?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I can't unsee that kind of shit.
I love that Thriller t-shirt. I wish I had that. That was a sick t-shirt that the little girl wears.
Well, Gabe eventually kills Abraham. He's like one of the first ones to go with, what's he get him with, the propeller?
The boat motor, yeah, the propeller. It's super bloody and awesome.
Yeah, and he drives back to the dock and gets the families that can be away from Red and their doppelganger family. And they go over to Tim Heidecker's house. Mikey, break this scene down because it's hilarious.
Yeah, well, this is where we really learn that it's not just the original family that's getting...
That was a twist for me.
That has these copies. It's pretty much, I don't know if it's everybody, but it's at least 6 million people that have copies because they go all the way across America, hand in hand. But yeah, the Tim Heidecker's family, he has twins, and there's also doppelgangers of those twins, so... They kind of sneak up behind the two twins at the top of the stairs, and then they just get like stabbed in the neck, and things kind of fly off from there. Tim Heidecker's weird doppelganger comes out and
Tex.
Yeah,
that's his name, Tex.
It's so hard to describe what he's doing. He's not speaking, but he is definitely acting like a dad. But he's also kind of acting like an insane person at the same time. And then he kills Tim, stabs him. Everybody gets stabbed in the neck, and Elizabeth Moss, she has a doppelganger who also stabs her, but she kind of lives for a little bit longer and kind of sees all these doppelgangers, and she's just trying to crawl to Tim, and then she gets stabbed multiple times.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. 2-bedroom, no rug. It's free real estate. But I also love before that when she's like, when Elizabeth Moss character is kind of like on the overhang of the house trying to talk to him from down below. What does she ask him to do again? It's something really simple. She's like, I heard something outside.
Go check. Yeah,
check out
and he's like, it's probably a squirrel. She's like, I know what a squirrel sounds like. And he's like, honey, I'm in my comfy spot. I'm busy. And he's just drinking in his robe.
Yeah, I'm busy.
I'm busy. And I loved this part mainly because I love the Beach Boys, but I also think the lyrics work really well with like the breakdown of the murder of Tim, like Heidecker's family, of the Tyler family, I guess. When he puts on that song, you know something bad is immediately going to happen, and it's so quick when that girl gets stabbed in the neck.
What song does he put on, Stevie?
Good Vibrations. And if you look at it from Elizabeth Moss doppelganger's like side, those lyrics actually work perfect.
What do you mean?
Because like she's been down below in those tunnels for so long, like her entire life, and she goes like the lyrics go on to say, "I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. I hear the sound of the gentle word and the wind that lifts perfume through the air." Which to me, if you look at it from like a jealous like standpoint. Like, she took a lot of pleasure out of killing Elizabeth Moss.
I'm with you. That might be the best sequence in the whole movie. That music...
That's such a... I mean, I think there's a reason they picked that song, too, because it works perfectly with the sequence.
Yeah, that Love and Mercy music, like, juxtaposed against the ultra-violence.
Something gruesome.
It's so good. It's so great.
So violent. And I also noticed something small with Elizabeth Olsen's doppelganger, her other, I guess. Her name's Dahlia. I really like that lipstick scene where she actually got to put on lipstick for the first time and not just, like, pretend to.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in the beginning, Elizabeth Moss says that she had Botox and kind of filler put in around her face. And... her doppelganger had scars all around those areas.
Oh, shit. Good catch, Stevie.
Yeah.
So she was getting surgery.
She was getting surgery, but not the good kind.
Wow. That's so...
Yeah.
I was talking to you. I think this movie is a lock for SAG Ensemble, because we've kind of talked about... those are pretty much all of the characters, and, like, they're all phenomenal in both roles. Like, everyone is so great, and it's a challenging like movie to do. They're playing two totally different characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think from top to bottom, this is probably one of the best casts I've seen. Especially the fact that, yeah, like you said, that you're asking them to play two characters. It's really impressive to see, especially Lupita. She's insane in this movie. Yeah,
and they would shoot on different days. Like, they would do the Red family one day, and then just the standard, like, Wilson or Tyler family the other days. And Jordan Peele said it was absolutely terrifying being around Lupita because she would stay in Red character no matter what.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, when she was in makeup, in between breaks, getting lunch, Lupita was Red.
Where are the craft services?
He said it was just absolutely terrifying. And after the Tylers get murdered, the Wilsons show up, and I mean, it's a pretty standard takedown. Like, Gabe fights his evil twin, best friend Josh in the boat, which I really like that flare gun scene. That was hilarious.
Again, like, the script is so tight for the most part. We'll get to the end where we have maybe a little bit of different opinion, but yeah, the flare gun is set up at the beginning scene on the beach. They're talking about, you got your life preserver.
You got a flare gun.
Yep. Then the life preserver comes into play, like, earlier on, and then the flare gun, you think it's going to be this, like, giant flare that he shoots him with, and just like little impotent little shot comes out of it.
You're right, though. I mean, this script does a phenomenal job of falling on itself constantly, like, especially with, like, little stuff like that. There was a little bit of it in Get Out with, like, Chris's cell phone. Like, his cell phone's constantly being unplugged, and then, when he absolutely needs it, it's dead.
Yeah, but I prefer this, you know what I mean, rather than, like, the cell phone thing's like a plot device, but this is, like, so well executed. Like, I think if I watched it again, I would pick up on, like, 10 more things. You know what I mean?
Well, that too, like, even with the boat motor, how it dies out in the middle of the water when he first gets it.
And he smacks his head on it to start it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, like, little stuff like that. But they eventually kill that family. And from there, they pretty much just hit the boardwalk, am I right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, actually, no. There's actually a smaller part. When they're leaving that house, Umbre is pretty much on top of their car as Zora's trying to drive. And she gets thrown through the woods and impaled by a tree, I can only imagine. This was a weird part of the movie.
Sorry, I just thought of this. So, like, maybe is this like a clue to that she did remember? Because, like, when the pizza goes out to check on her, she's like consoling her. It makes no
sense.
She's almost like shh, like it's okay, kind of like.
Yeah, because it really
doesn't. That would be her real daughter, I guess. The one in the tree. Well, yeah, she didn't give birth to her, but that would, if she was the crazy one, pretty confusing, I guess. But no, that would be like who she would have raised if she had stayed down below. So that could have been her daughter.
Right. And, everyone in the theater is like, what the hell is she doing? Like, why is she getting out of the car? And by the end, it makes a whole lot of sense. Pretty much after that.
Go
ahead.
After that, when they're in the car again, Gabe kind of gives her a weird look like he's not understanding why she did that too. So I think it's really, there's like a lot of little stuff like that kind of setting up Lupita's turn in the end.
That, and especially too, when she goes back in the house to get the car keys before the whole Umbre deal, one of the twins is still alive.
Oh, right.
And Adelaide has to kill that twin. And while she's doing it, she's doing like that grunt thing. Like, that's like the first time we really get to see her doing the grunt. She's kind of like clenching her teeth and doing like the chatter grunt. And that's when Jason, I think, first starts to see that something's wrong with Mom.
Yeah, Jason is like picking up on kind of something's not.
Jason's
not
smart.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that's when we get to the boardwalk where Pluto has set a trap with gasoline beneath their car. And what happens here, Pax, is kind of weird.
It was a shot from the trailers, but it might be like some of the most striking imagery of the whole movie. The trap is basically the fire starter kid has laid down a bunch of gasoline and he's got a match. He's got to explode the car that they're all in while the family's trying to get to Mexico. But Jason realizes that he can still kind of control him. Like they're still kind of tethered in a way, and he basically just like extends his arms out and like starts walking backwards, and then the fire starter kid walks backwards into the fire. And again, Lupita is like kind of, she doesn't want that kid to die. You know what I mean? She kind of like says no or something like that.
Yeah, and it can either be they're tethered, or I kind of like my dog theory.
Oh, that he's
kind of like he's kind of like doing like the dog thing, where he's kind of mirroring him.
Yeah,
yeah. But it's a switcheroo of a trap, because Red knows what Jason is going to do, and while he's backing up, he doesn't see Red that's like hidden behind a car or something, and
pretty much blending in within a car.
that was a pretty cool little scene right there of her. She's in view, like you could see her if you're looking for her, but she's also kind of hidden because she's the exact same color as the car.
And this is also where we get the first shot of the people in red forming the Hands Across America.
Hands Across America. Yeah. That's when they're like really starting to like, yeah, I guess you'd say do their form. It didn't make a whole lot of sense at the time. Mm-mm. But Red steals Jason, and that's when Adelaide takes after her into the fun house. What happens here, Pap?
Yeah, so we go in the fun house, and there's an owl earlier that scares the young version of her, and then the owl pops up and she just beats the shit out of it. It's so funny. And basically this fun house thing has a hidden escalator to these tunnels where the people are being kept, and we kind of get to see for the first time the condition, or like I really get to see like what it looks like down there, and it's pretty creepy.
Yeah, so there's rabbits everywhere, and I like the deeper you go, kind of like just stark contrast difference you get, because it's like all white halls, all tile, you know, kind of modern furniture, and also classrooms.
Yeah. Am I missing something with the rabbits? Like, why? She mentioned
those were the first things they cloned.
That was the food. Yeah, they had to eat rabbit too.
Yeah.
That was what they were eating.
Gotcha.
So anytime they ate, they just ate rabbit. And that was also like the first thing they cloned within the trials.
But there was so there's no, it's just because that's what they cloned. There's no other reason that it was rabbits.
I think it was just because it was like the first thing they cloned.
Because that's like one of the first shots of the movie too. You get that title card, and then they show like this cage, a super close up of a rabbit's eye, and he very patiently, very slowly like moves the camera back, and you see it's like basically like a pet store of like cages and cages of rabbits. I'm like, the fuck is going on?
That was a sweet shot though. That was a cool shot.
It was great.
Yeah. So we get into the part where Red is doing like she's drawing and cutting out Hands Across America in this classroom, and there's a giant exposition dump. What is she going to say, Mikey?
We get flashbacks of the beginning of the movie where she goes into the fun house, and here's where we learn that underground Adelaide had choked out above ground Adelaide and switched places with her as a kid. And when underground Red, who got back to the surface, she didn't know how to talk or anything really, so she was quiet for, I don't know, how long did they say? Like
a long time. Yeah,
a while. She was just not talking, and people had assumed that she had PTSD from whatever her experience was wandering off. But I think it's a great twist, even though I kind of saw it coming a little bit earlier. But it has a great fight scene, and again, the music from the trailers in this fight scene, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine how they came up with I put 5 on it into a scary remix or anything, but it's just so cool, and it's shot really well. It's like kind of a silhouette, 2 silhouettes fighting, just because of the lighting is so nothing you would ever see in real life, really.
It's amazingly well done.
Awesome.
And that remix is played throughout like the second and third act, and it's haunting. And Jordan Peele said, that song, it came pretty simple. I'm making a movie in Northern California that's a Bay Area hip-hop classic, and I wanted to explore this very relatable journey of being a parent, and maybe some of the songs you listened to back in the day aren't appropriate for your kids. So that was one level. And another part was I love songs that have a great feeling, but also have a haunting element to them. And I feel like the beat in that song has this inherent cryptic energy, almost reminiscent of the Nightmare on Elm Street soundtrack. So there were the ideas that song hit the bullseye for me. And also, it's just a dope track.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a drug song, it's a dope song. That's a great one.
It's a dope song.
That's a classic.
Also, you can look at it like thematically too, for the sense of like I got 5 on it, which is like pretty much paying for half a dime, like not paying like full 10, which is like there's half. Yeah, this whole movie's duality.
Throwing in on it, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And also, Mikey, you mentioned that fight scene. Like one of the reasons Red, or the girl who was switched, she's able to like combat the fight because she's like dances out of the way, and that's something that's discussed on the beach too. Is like, don't you miss dancing? And Lupita's kind of like, and it turns out that she was a dancer when she was younger.
Yeah, so in that scene too, while she's explaining like, this was an abandoned like government project, everyone went mad, we've been down here, here's what's been going on. There's this great kind of side-by-side of like them going through the boardwalk of like both their journeys, of like one on top and one in the tunnels, and just like how different they look and kind of how sad it is. And especially with like the people riding a roller coaster like up top are also riding a roller coaster in that room.
Yeah,
that was funny.
I thought that was great. But my favorite part throughout this whole sequence, one of my favorite parts of the movie, was kind of like the dancing sequence of her explaining like, someone explain this to me. What did she mean when she said that she had found God? Like during the dancing sequences of the ballet. Because one was dancing on top at a recital and one was just dancing in the tunnels just to dance.
I have no idea. Like I didn't. She mentions God a couple times, finding God, or that that there was some kind of miracle that happened and inspired her. That wasn't clear to me. I guess when I first saw it, I thought that the miracle was the switch that happened, but is that right? Like I don't know. Like that part kind of lost me.
The only thing I'm confused by was with these two girls, who was tethered to who? Who was controlling who?
I think that was the miracle, is that they were supposed to be different.
They were separate?
But they both, yeah. I think that was what she was trying to get to. They actually
weren't tethered to one another. They were just actually... Okay. That helps me out a lot, because that side-by-side dance of, like, bottom and top, because that's when everyone in the tunnels realized that Red was far different than the others. Not only could she dance, but she could talk.
You like this?
Yeah, and then she became like Jesus of the underground people.
Right, and that's and then she took the inspiration of Hands Across America to unite the mole people below.
Because she's got like a Hands Across America T-shirt, right? Like,
right.
It's covered up during the sequence by the Thriller T-shirt that Mikey mentioned, but when the switch happens, then you see the T-shirt.
I know it's really bad timing, but like with Finding Neverland and everything coming out, but the one glove and red jumpsuits were pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Because how it's supposed to be Thriller?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's bad timing, but I thought that was pretty funny. But, yeah, so Adelaide kills Red with the cuffs that Red made her put on, as well as we find out the cuffs that I guess you could say Red put on, or what would it be? The original Adelaide put on Red, or vice versa. I don't know. She wears those cuffs the whole damn movie. But she ends up killing her, goes back up top in an ambulance and starts driving. And that's when Jason realizes, like, something's not right with Mom. I just saw her maybe kill, like, who should have been my real mom. And we get that overview shot of just hands across the rolling hills for miles upon miles.
They actually did it. Those crazy bastards.
They actually did it.
They pulled it off and raised $75 million.
They pulled off 6.5 million people across the country while killing 6.5 million. Good for them.
Good for
them. They cured homelessness.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the whole plot to us. What did you guys think? I guess I'll ask you guys both this. Which one do you prefer, Us or Get Out?
Well, I've seen Get Out multiple times now, and I think that's a perfect movie. I still want to see this again. I don't know if I'm going to see it in theaters again, but I would love to watch it a couple more times and come back to that question. But right now, I still love Get Out more. Not to say that this wasn't a good movie. This was an amazing movie and probably the best movie of this year so far. But I think Get Out just hits so hard on that first watch. It's such it's an instant classic, that movie.
Yeah, I wonder where Jordan Peele
Quit
going
saying that.
Jordan Peele's going to go next. I think that he's really matured as a writer, even between the two movies. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the third act, but all those little setup and payoffs were great. So I think I still prefer Get Out because I loved the ending of Get Out and the way that it's set up with the TSA guy. That's one of my favorite scenes ever. But they're pretty damn close. I'm looking at IMDb. Get Out's a 7.7. This is a 7.6. They're very comparable films in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to ask that question because he's only made 2 films so far. But I don't really think you can compare the 2 movies because they're so different.
Yeah,
I mean, they're really different. It'd have been really easy for Jordan Peele to, write a movie about the coagula or write what happened, a similar story that happened before where the guy didn't make it out of Get Out. But he really took steps with this movie, I thought. And I think as a whole, I think I'm going to be in the minority on this one. I prefer Us over Get Out.
That's fair.
This movie has stuck in my brain for honestly the past 24 hours. I just can't stop thinking about it. And there's so many questions left unanswered. It just makes you think about it and kind of wonder what it really is. So I think it's actually a really fun watch with a lot of different breadcrumbs to go back on later on while watching it.
I also love those movies that take that ambiguous ending. Obviously the bad Adelaide is up top now, and Jason is kind of suspicious of her, but you don't know what's going to happen at the end of this movie. And it's it's not a happy ending, but it's more of just she could kill everybody as soon as these credits roll. So
yeah,
I like endings like that.
I got a question for you, Stevie.
Yeah.
So Get Out was, he won, the Oscar for Best Screenplay, and it was, of course, nominated for an Academy Award. And I think a lot of that was, because of the symbolism and metaphor for being
racism's
black.
Not dead.
Yeah, being black in America. Did you find that this movie had any kind of themes or
socially? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it did. I heard people say, "Oh, this is just more of a horror movie. There's not that many themes," and I couldn't disagree with that more.
Which ones do you find, Pap?
So one of
upper class and lower class.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the very telling things is when the family first appears, they ask, "Who are you?" and the answer is Americans, and that is a very, very, very
that was weird,
telling line. And even Lupita, her plan is to escape to Mexico, to leave the United States and hands across America. I think there's a little bit of, like what Mikey said, the class system, the fact that it was the government that put these people in the lower class while this super affluent family
and they don't see him as human.
Was vacationing, and they're dehumanized by that. So
they're dehumanized.
Yeah, it's not like it's slapping you in the face with metaphor, but even
this movie is called Us, for crying out loud. US. Capitalize both those letters.
Yeah, U.S. That's USA right there. So I mean, I think it was very well.
Get out of the U.S.
Oh. I see what we're doing here. But that was the theme I saw the most, was upper class, lower class, and how, you kind of forget about a section of society, and then when they come up to show themselves, you don't see them as human. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that not that their violence is justified, but like we mentioned earlier, it's fucking understandable. They were kept in a cave, they had to mutilate themselves, they had to follow somebody, their revolution was inevitable, and I think that's even kind of something that Peele's saying. He's saying that if you keep people down and oppress them and oppress them and oppress them, it ends up in violent revolution. So I think that's a really astute point from him.
Right, and I mean it was smart. You sympathize on both sides. You sympathize with Adelaide, and you also sympathize with Red by the end. You know what I mean?
Not at first, but by the end, yeah.
By the end, you definitely end up sympathizing with both sides. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I hope it's nominated for screenplay. I'm not sure if it will be, but I hope it is. You know, you just don't see a lot of movies like this.
Like I said, I think it's a lock for SAG Ensemble, and that's if it gets that, it probably will get nominated for Best Picture. I think that one of the things that's going to hold it back though a little bit is the horror genre. You know what I mean? As far as Academy Awards goes, but who cares about that? This is an amazing movie. Like, I don't care if it gets no awards. It was awesome. Yeah,
it just, like you said, Pap, like horror, comedy, sci-fi. Like also, you can kind of link the two between Get Out and Us if you think about it, because like
fantastical science or whatever.
In Get Out, they really were transferring the soul.
Yeah,
and in Us, they struggled to do that and could only make copies of it. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I guess you can kind of mark it in that realm, I guess. Well, but yeah,
that's a great point, Mikey. Like Peele's films. They're horror, but they're not supernatural horror. You know what I mean? It's people doing it. Like, it's grounded in quote unquote reality, which makes it scarier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Us. You guys have anything else to add?
You think this is the best movie of the year so far? I can't even think of anything else that.
I think hands down it's the best movie of the year so far.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You just don't see a lot of movies like this, I guess. The one thing I'll say, I can kind of knock on it, was I could have dealt with a little less exposition while Red was talking. But in the same thing, I mean, if he just would have left it with no exposition, people would have been confused as hell. So that's just the way I look at it. But I hope Jordan Peele takes like 3 or 4 years off and just comes back with an amazing movie and doesn't rush anything. But I have to imagine with the guy, you know, with his brain and work ethic, I have to imagine that he has something on the horizon pretty soon. It's
a pretty insane turnaround to make those movies 2 years apart. Like,
oh yeah,
it's a grind.
Like, and both these movies are bangers too. Yeah. Like I don't understand people on social media saying this movie sucks. Like, I just don't get it. It's like, I think I just need to watch it again. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Favorite of the year so far, and I like it more than Get Out.
3 yeses? Do we even need to do that?
Do we? I don't think so.
Oh yeah, this is a rock hard yes.
Hard yes.
Cool. Well, Pat, do we have anything coming down the pipeline soon?
I don't know. I think we got a bunch of Fast and Furious movies coming out. We got Your Punishment movie for losing the Oscar Pick'ems show, The Prestige. So you get to listen to Stevie explain why he hates that movie.
Us is better than The Prestige.
I don't know. It's too soon.
Stop it.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I got one more comment or question. Do you guys think Lupita's going to get nominated?
Oh, she has to.
She's incredible in this movie.
I'll take it a step further. Is she the best living actress?
I mean, I don't know about... I think she's insane in this movie because I think it has a lot to do with her face, too. I mean, she looks perfect in real life, and then her weird underground doppelganger is just so scary looking and almost like uncanny valley in the way that she looks. I mean,
she's
the makeup
so skinny
and everything
Tracy
in this
Chapman.
movie. Yeah, she's absolutely terrifying in this movie. So, I think she's an incredible actress regardless of this movie had come out or not. But yeah, she crushes it in this movie.
The only thing that might hold her back is the fact that Toni Collette put on one of the best acting performances I've seen in years in Hereditary, and she didn't even sniff a nomination.
Yeah.
That just makes me sad.
I mean, Peele and her are Academy darlings, so hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's right. Well, one thing I'll say this is if you listen to this movie, if you listen to this episode and haven't seen Us, I don't know what you're doing with your life, go see this movie. It's amazing. And thanks for listening. This was Spoilers.
Take it away, Spoderman.
Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song.
The following advertisement is intended for Jim Booney only.
It's free. Real estate.
We're giving you land.
It's free.
We're giving you a house.
It's real estate. Free.
It's a free house for you, Jim.
This is free real estate.
Well, you gotta bring furniture, but the house is free.
2 bedrooms, no rugs. It's free.
You unlock the door to your free house. We got you the real estate.
It's a 2-bedroom house. It's free. It's got a pool in the
I'm
back.
not carrying this around all day. It's for your house.
Free real estate. I'll pee my pants.
Jim, come get your damn land.
It's a free house!
Jim, I got real estate.
Jim, to get better than this,
Jim.
the house is free!
Jim.
The house is free!
It's a free house.
It's free real estate.